Sup, guys? Bad Archon here, bringing another 40k Tactica. Today, I'll be committing heresy by showing you how to beat Chaos Daemons in 10th edition Warhammer 40k, specifically after the latest Pariah Nexus data slates, because yes, these guys got buffed pretty sky high, and I do anticipate seeing more of them going forward. If you've never played them before, maybe you just don't know them that well, they can be one of the trickier armies to fight against. We have some insanely good stratagems, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'll be showing you how to beat me when I'm on the other side of the table. Good luck with that, by the way. As usual, if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. Gotta thank all my supporters as well. Sellers, Matt, Nick, thank you very much, guys. Everybody else, if I don't say your name, don't think I don't appreciate what you all are doing. If anybody else wants to support the channel, I will post some links down below to my Patreon, and of course, you can become a member through YouTube. That said, I got a lot to say. I shouldn't be telling y'all. I love demons. They're one of my favorite armies. And in fact, I've fallen so much in love with these guys, over 10th edition, even before the Dataslate Changes. They're one of my favorite armies, ever. But again, I want to get some info out there because I do think you'll be seeing more of them. And like I said, just a moment ago, yeah, dude, they can be pretty tricky. So if you've never fought them before, this video should have some pretty handy tips for you. So yeah, the Dataslate buffed us really damn well. We're not AdMech levels of buffage or whatever, but we're pretty up there. What's funny to me is only really one big rule change. Well, it's actually two. But for our army rules, there's only one change that's such a big deal. Now, every single greater demon has their own 6-inch aura, the Shadow of Chaos. That means that I can deep strike into your deployment zone and still get all the boosts related to my army rule. So that means boosted stratagems, boosted enhancements, you get screwed during battle shock, I get buffed during battle shock, etc, etc, etc. That used to be dude, getting, especially in your deployment zone, that was near impossible. And even in no man's land, it was a pain in the ass to get before. Now it's not an issue, even in least bit, I just automatically get it, so that is a pretty big deal. The other thing I think is huge for us is the new pivoting rule. So pretty much every single one of our greater demons has huge-ass wings or other bits that hang off the side, especially Bellacore. Very guilty of that. So now the fact that we can get around the board, so long as our base is fit, we can get around easy peasy. That is a pretty big deal for demons. The other thing, line of sight, man. So if I wanted to rotate Scarbrand so his wing or whatever wasn't hanging around the side so I wasn't getting shot, I'd have to spend 6 inches of freaking movement. It got pretty stupid back then. Not anymore. So I do think we actually take the most advantage of the new pivoting changes. Yeah, I think we got boosted the most out of any army when it comes to the pivot rule. With that all out of the way though, so I just want to give you a general overview of what the army does. Maybe know literally nothing about demons. This should give you a hint of what we're trying to do. So our main army rule is Shadow of Chaos. Basically, the board gets divided into 3 sections. So our deployment zone, no man's land, and obviously your deployment zone. My DZ is always covered under my shadow, always. Even if you take my home field objective, doesn't matter, I'll always have my Shadow of Chaos. For no man's land, I have to control half or more of the primary objectives, so don't let me do that. And then for your DZ, obviously I can either deep strike down a demon, that's the most common way I'm going to do it, or I have to take your home field objective, so it can be kind of hard to get on your side of the table. However, we do have ways of doing it, so we'll get into that when we get to the stratagem section. So definitely screen your home field objective exceptionally well when you're fighting demons. In fact, it should be Captain Obvious here, but screening is going to be a big deal. Now, as for what the Shadow of Chaos does, so first of all of our enhancements and a lot of our stratagems get boosted. That's the main reason I want to use my Shadow. So Great Unclean One, for example, he has an enhancement that gives him a 4-up Feel No Pain. He's just permanently going to get that. That's a big deal there. The other part, though, anytime we take a battle shock test, we get +1 to the test, and if we pass it, we regen D3 wounds. If we're battle line, so Nurglings, Plague Bears, Pink Horrors, that's a big one, they regen D3 models. On top of that, most of the battle line have an icon, so they're getting an additional +1, essentially. So if you're Tyranids or yeah, you're a battle shock shenanigan army, dude, we're the worst people to do it to. You're literally helping me when you force a battle shock. The other half of that rule, if you're in my shadow and you take a battle shock test, you get -1 to your test, and if you fail, you take D3 mortal wounds. So that's pretty awesome. It's not the biggest thing ever. It sort of tickles you, but it can be fairly consistent, and it will add up over time, especially if you have shitty leadership. And more importantly, maybe you'll fail a test while on an objective or something, and then you don't score it, or I can flip it, that sort of stuff. So it does, it's a nice to have for sure. So that's our army rule. As for our detachment rule, it's arguably better. So we get whip rips. Basically, when we arrive from reserve, so long as we deploy completely within our Shadow of Chaos, we can be 6 inches away from you. That is such a gigantic deal. Most of our battle line, well, all of our battle line, and a bunch of the cavalry and that sort of stuff, they have instruments which gives us +1 to our charges. So I can get 5-inch charges on my blood crushers or my bloodletters or whatever key unit I want. I can get a 5-inch charge. I can also use my greater demons as drop pods. So a really common tactic, I'm going to drop a bloodthirster, and then I'm going to put down Scarbrand 6 inches away from you. And you best believe I'm saving the command points to, like, reroll that charge in case I fail it. So I'm basically, like, nigh guaranteed to, like, charge your units. Because often I'm going to do it with multiple units. I'm going to, like, yeah, I'm going to deep strike, like, 3 different units in there, and I'm just going to crush your back line. So I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to, like, screen everything, man. I hope you got cheap chaff units, but yes, screen your backfield. And then even in the, even in No Man's Land, like, be sure you're screening the hell out of it, because otherwise I'm going to come in, I'm just going to wipe stuff out. Scarbrand on his own, like, dude, ultra consistently, he's, like, almost guaranteed to wipe out 2 vehicles, like, 2 tanks. They could even be, like, land raiders or whatever. I am near guaranteed to wipe out 2 of them. If I roll just a little hot, I could probably wipe out 3 of them, like, no problem at all. So definitely make sure you're screening, guys. So already we're off to, like, a fantastic start. Those are a great army rule, fantastic freaking detachment rule. What about our stratagems? We have some of the best stratagems in the game, in my opinion, at least when it comes to, like, mission play and scoring. So a big one, the biggest one, is going to be Realm of Chaos. What Realm of Chaos does, at the end of your turn, I can pick up one unit or 2 units that are within my shadow, so obviously it's going to be like 2, 90% of the time, and I can deep strike them. On my turn, I can deep strike them. So that means multiple themes. I can get a turn 1 deep strike. If you go first, I can pick up 2 units and deep strike them. I can score secondaries, easy peasy. Any of the positional ones, even some of the action-based ones, I can get my units across the board, anywhere I want, like, ultra simply. I can also change flanks, so maybe I wiped out your right flank. Well, at the end of your turn, if you don't kill me back, I'm just gonna pick them up, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing to your left flank. Like, dude, Realm of Chaos, ultra valuable, ultra important. Another really good one we got Denizens of the Warp. This gives me a 3-inch deep strike. So I'm going to do all the time. Maybe you left some room on your home field objective, you didn't screen it properly. I'm going to drop flamers, or whatever I want there. I'm going to drop it on the objective. I'm going to flame the crap out of whatever units there, so Fenrisian Wolves would be perfect. If you had Cultists, they'd be fantastic, because anything with, like, a bad save and, like, a single wound, I'm just going to wipe them out. And I'm just going to steal it from right under your nose, literally whenever I want. I can also use it for screening, so maybe your Brutalist was going to charge my Great Unclean One or some key unit or whatever. Nope, I'm just going to drop Nurglings 3 inches in front of them. There are so many ways I can use the Denizens of the Warp. You have to be careful. The main thing for you to worry about, because obviously you can't screen out a 3-inch deep strike everywhere, but the main thing is going to be screening out your objectives. Not only your home field, but even the primary objectives out in No Man's Land. And me, I'm, like, tricky with it, man. So obviously, I don't like gotchas. Of course, I tell people before the game, like, what stratagems I have, and maybe if I'm really nice, especially if it's a casual game, I'll warn you as the game goes through. But if you forget about it, and I like to, like, save it until it's, like, gonna change the tide of the battle, so often I save it till the end of the game or whatever. But if you forget about it, man, I'm gonna take advantage of it. Now, again, I cannot charge out of it, so it's not a guaranteed I win button, because otherwise Scarbrand would just, like, do it every single time. So there is that, like, caveat to it. I could just put, like, a Great Unclean One behind you and just run, like, distraction card effects. Million ways I can use the Denizens of the Warp. Another really good one, we got Warp Surge. So this gives us advance and charge when we're charging out of our aura. So a big one, you're going to see that on Keeper of Secrets. Again, they all have their own aura, so she will always be able to do this. She can do a turn 1 charge, like, really easily if I deploy her. So she has a 14-inch move base. I'll advance, I don't know, 4 inches. Maybe I get lucky, roll 6. Like, that'd be really good there. And then, yeah, dude, I can just advance and charge. So again, screen the hell out of everything. Before the game even starts, when you're just deploying, you should be putting chaff in front of your, like, key units. So I can't just, like, sneak a keeper right in there. Another good one we got Corrupt Real Space. What this does, we can do it on either player's command phase. We can sticky an objective, and it gives us a 6-inch aura, the Shadow of Chaos on its own. So where that's really handy is if I think you're going to wipe out a unit, but not flip the objective. So you're going to kill it with shooting. On your command phase, I can sticky the objective, and I can still keep it. So that is a pretty big one. It's not like the most valuable stratagem ever, but just something to keep in mind. You can't always, like, force me to lose my primary points. And then the last one, so this isn't specific to demons, but it's one of the best stratagems in the entire game. Definitely make sure you guys are using this. Whatever army you're playing, make sure you guys are using this more. Rapid Ingress. Rapid Ingress is insanely good with demons, man. Again, Scarbrand, so he doesn't have fly. I can't move over screens. Maybe you did, like, maybe you're smart. You did screen out your deployment zone, all that sort of stuff. Well, what I'm going to do, when you finish your movement, I have perfect knowledge of, like, where all your shooting is, all your line of sight. Well, I'm going to put Scarbrand down, like, somewhere clever, and then on my turn, I'm going to get my 8-inch move, and yeah, I'm going to charge the shit out of something. So Rapid Ingress, 1000%. You need to be thinking of that every time you're moving your models, because I am near guaranteed to use that. So already we have some fantastic stratagems. Again, I would argue they're some of the best in the game, at least for, like, mission play and just, like, shenanigans period. That 3-inch deep strike, the Realm of Chaos, like, keep those in mind, guys. Now, enhancements, we definitely aren't lacking there. So a big one, you're going to see this pretty much every single list, at least competitively. Great Unclean One with the Endless Gift. What that does, that gives him a 4-up Feel No Pain. This guy is T12, 24 wounds with a 4-up invul base. You toss a 4-up Feel No Pain on that, he basically has the equivalent of, what, 48 wounds? So I would highly recommend not shooting at this guy. That's the biggest mistake you could do. Just ignore the Great Unclean One, let him do its thing, unless you can wipe him out in a single turn. And even then, guys, when you do it, like, I want you to shoot my Great Unclean One. It's gonna take an entire army's worth of shooting to, like, kill this guy. I would highly recommend you either ignore him, better yet, you screen him out, you out-objective control him. He doesn't have that much damage. He has, like, pretty crappy damage. He only has a 7-inch move, so he's not, like, OP. I've seen some people say it's like, oh, he's busted. Well, yeah. He might be slightly undercosted, but he's not, like, ruining the game or anything. He's not unbeatable. You need to be smart, man. It's not all about just, like, killing stuff. So definitely think of ways you can counter the Great Unclean One. The other enhancement that I myself use pretty much every single time, if I bring a Lord of Change, I'm going to give him the Everstave. That gives him +2 strength on his shooting, on his ranged abilities. He also has a built-in ability where he gets +1 strength, like just baseline, so he's getting +3 strength. Long story short, he has strength 12 shooting at like whatever he shoots at. I can also boost up his AP with a stratagem, so this guy he's like my only like good range output. Maybe I bring a Soul Grinder, like they're also pretty decent. But Lord of Change, he's probably a key model to kill, because he's going to be one of my only, like, range options. Now, he is sort of short range. With the Everstave, he's a 24-inch range on his main weapon, and then 18-inch range on his secondary. So you can, like, yeah, just stay out of range of him. But do be aware, this guy is like a tank hunter. That's, like, the main reason I'm using him for. I can shoot at chaff. He has 9 shots, by the way, and he can get sustained D3 on top of that, so he'll put out a lot of hurt. He also gets an additional 6 shots with his second staff. But, yeah, my main thing is if you got predators, especially if you don't have an invul, I'm gonna be, like, hunting them like a madman, so probably kill him first. Truthfully, if I was fighting you, yeah, he'd probably be the first target I'd go for. So overall, fantastic stratagems and damn good enhancements. That Great Unclean One, you're going to see him every single list ever, at least competitively. And if they're bringing a Lord of Change, which a lot of lists do, they'll have that Everstave. Next, I want to go over just like general strengths of the army, just so you like learn more about them. So first of all, every single model has an invul save, every single one. So I don't care about your armor piercing one bit. Like, don't even tell me. I don't care at all. Now we do have a couple models that have a real save. Demon Prince has a 2-up, and the Soul Grinder, I believe he has a 3-up. He might have a 4-up, but either way, we have like 2 models that have actual saves. But otherwise, everything ever has an invul, and a lot of times they're good. The big models all, like, universally have 4-up invuls. The Blood Crushers also have a 4-up invul and toughness 7, so they're damn good. Nurglings are kind of, they kind of got shafted, luckily. That's sort of, it's like fair. They have a 6-up invul, so they're not the best ever. But yes, across the board invul saves, so I don't care one bit about ignore cover or any of that sort of stuff. Again, you don't really have to tell me. On top of that, we have like hypermobility, so every single model in the army can deep strike. If you didn't already know that, every single model can deep strike, so I can start them in reserves and just come down turn 2, or if I use the Realm of Chaos, I can come down turn 1, so long as you go first. So be aware that yes, I can deep strike everywhere, and just like mobility period. Overall, we have pretty good move characteristics. So Keeper Secrets, 14-inch move, Bellicor's 12-inch move, pretty much anything with wings has a 12-inch. Scarbrand doesn't technically have wings, if you didn't know. Korn punched the shit out of the guy, so he lost his. He only moves 8, unfortunately. On top of that, we have like an abundance of like infiltrators and like scout moves. So one that I love to bring, I love Seekers of Slanesh. These guys have a 9-inch scout move on top of their 14-inch move profile. They can also reroll both advances and charges. Now they do die if you look at them funny, but how I use them as turn 1 move blocks. Like there's like a 99.9% chance I'm gonna try to move block you turn 1. If I go first, like yeah, dude, you're kind of screwed in that regard. So I hope you do have ways to like either jump over it or make sure you like, yeah, get around it. Be prepared for the move block basically. We also have Nurglings. So these guys, people think they're dead. They're crazy, man. 40 points for infiltrators who can move block, do positional secondaries, all that sort of stuff. Like very much I'm going to keep tossing them in. I don't care one bit what happens to these guys. So maybe I went second, but I deployed them in the middle. I was hoping to move block and go first, but it failed. I do not care one bit that you kill these guys. And in fact, when you charge them, all that really does, that brings you closer to me to like counter charge. So do be very careful with how you deal with these guys. You're going to be seeing them a lot going forward, especially for like chaos armies. On top of that, I already mentioned it earlier, but we got the 6-inch deep strike. So obviously we're taking advantage of it. Again, we can use our greater demons as drop pods. So like this Bloodletter Bomb right here, I am pretty much guaranteed to get a 5-inch charge. I got an instrument, so +1 charge. I'll get a 5-inch charge on like any unit that you keep exposed. Now, this does mean more than just general screening, you need to screen your key units. So if you got something that's like important in the front lines, try to get some chaff in front of them, man. Otherwise, if Bloodletters get in there, they're basically guaranteed to knock them out. Scarbrand, like half the models in my army, like pretty much guaranteed to knock out even key, like expensive units, unless you like roll lucky or something. So yes, again, more than just general screening, try to like wrap around models and keep your key units like hidden away. On top of that, we have really good action monkeys, really cheap and like efficient action monkeys. So flamers, I love them for it. They're only 75 points. They got 9-inch move, infantry keywords so they can go through walls. Flush hounds are ultra like common for that. Only 70 points with a 12-inch move. They too can move through walls. If my Seekers manage to keep alive, which is very rare, but then get pretty much anywhere on the field. Don't forget I got Realm of Chaos as well, so any positional secondaries, any of that sort of stuff, like, it ain't no thing, man. Yeah, it's really easy for me to do. And then lastly, this should be obvious for anybody who's ever played demons ever, or knows even just like the smallest thing about them, greater demons. You're gonna see greater demons everywhere. So by the way, these are all tournament lists. I'll go over them a little bit at the end of this, but these are what, like, some of them even gone, I think some of them went 7-0. Like, these are like, yeah, standard lists. The average is 4 greater demons. Some bring 5 greater demons. There's lists out there that bring 6 greater demons because people are nuts like that. So very much like anticipate seeing those guys. So overall, we have some really powerful rules. Like, again, we got the invulnerable saves up the wazoo. We have hypermobility. Everybody can deep strike. We got infiltrators, scouts, lone operative. We got 6-inch deep strikers, greater demons. We got a bunch of strengths, so they seem kind of scary. But we have a lot of weaknesses, and weaknesses you should be able to take advantage of. So for one, and this is really obvious, but I want to hammer in your head, we are highly susceptible to being screened out. Especially if you have like infiltrator abilities. Infiltrator abilities are the ones where you can't be set up from reserves within 12 inches away. That screws me so hard. That basically negates like half of my army, like right away. Half my army, man. I can't Realm of Chaos there. I can't get my 5-inch charge. None of that stuff. If you have those units, what I would recommend doing, keep them alive, man. Do not expose them at all. They are very much going to be my #1 target priority. I'm going to, like, hyper-focus on those guys because, again, you screw me out of my Realm of Chaos, you screw me out of, like, everything. So, personally, me, if I had them, I would just keep them behind cover somewhere. I wouldn't even bother bringing them onto objectives. I wouldn't do any of that sort of stuff. You know, obviously, there's nuance to everything, but for the most part, just keep them hidden away, man, because, again, they're going to piss me off so freaking bad. They're terrible to fight up against. On top of that, so we have invul saves on everything, right? Well, that means we don't really have armor saves. We can't benefit from cover, and more importantly, we are susceptible to like masked AP0 firepower. So bolters, maybe not into greater demons and stuff, but into all of our non-greater demons, bolters freaking suck, dude. Because no matter what, you have AP4 or AP0, it's the same for me. So if you have, yeah, maybe you're one of those armies that has like lower AP overall, that's not an issue for you. Usually you get like a points discount for that as well, so in a way you're actually more efficient enemy. Related to that, if you have any sort of lethals or devastating wounds, anti-psyker is a huge one. Every single greater demon, aside from the corn ones, is a psyker technically. If you have anti-psyker 2 up, holy shit, does that hurt too? So look for ways to like toss those into your list. If you anticipate like seeing demons, maybe you got a local like meta chaser or something, they're hopping into demons or something. Yeah, dude, toss the lethal hits into your army. Those would like pay off in spades. On top of that, so anything that's not a greater demon is like ultra fragile, aside from a few. So like blood crushers are pretty resilient, plague drones, those sort of things. But any of the other models, especially the ones that are doing scoring, that's like the big point here. They are ultra fragile, honestly. So again, my Seekers, dude, you sneeze on these guys, they die. Flamers are okay resilient. They do have 3 wounds each and a 4-up invul save, but if you have like a decent amount of 3 damage weaponry, yeah, dude, you'll chew right through them. And what I'm getting at, kill my scoring units. Flush hounds are perfect for it. They only have a 5-up invul. They are 2 wounds each, but yeah, dude, you get mass like bolter shots into them, you're just gonna wipe them out like super ultra quick. And once my scoring's killed, that means I have to rely on my ultra-expensive greater demons to do all my secondaries. They gotta do my actions. They have to stand on primaries just sitting there looking pretty. Now, Great Unclean One, he won't mind doing that, but the rest of them very much will. I don't want my 325-point, like, ultra-killer unit just, like, standing and being a paperweight. That's, like, the worst thing ever. So, very much, I'd recommend, obviously it depends on, like, the list, it depends on the state of the board, all that sort of stuff, but for the most part, I would take out the scorers first, then deal with the greater demons. Now, maybe these guys are in your face, and you are, like, you know, you're having trouble with them. Dude, there's multiple ways to deal with it. Again, you can screen them out. You can just toss them like distractions. Just throw food in their face. Throw chaff at them to keep them like clogged up. You got multiple ways to deal with them. Now, the next tip does play into greater demons. It's kind of silly because it kind of goes both ways, but our army like relies on greater demons. They're like the glue that gets the rest of the army like working together. So if you are able to wipe them out, like near guaranteed, if you're like positive you wipe them out in a single turn, go for it, man. You take out Scarbrand, that's a huge hit to my list. He alone is probably like 25% of my list, like the damage output I'm getting. I lose a 6-inch aura of the +1 attack. I lose a Shadow of Chaos aura. I lose all the damage he himself does. So if you are able to kill them reliably, then go ahead and go for it. And just don't be giving up a shitload of like primary points to do that. But me personally, I don't think it's worth it. In most cases, you want to take out their scoring first, then deal with the greater demons later. The last weakness we got, I'm sure there's more, but the last one I'm going to bring up, obviously, we're a melee army. So then, all the weaknesses that entails, like, applies to us, and probably doubly so. We have barely any shooting. We're probably better than, like, World Eaters in that regard. But aside from, like, Lord of Change, maybe the Soul Grinder, aside from, like, those two, yeah, we practically have no shooting. So again, this plays into, like, the first weakness, the whole screening. If you can screen out, like, my melee pretty well, you got, like, a front line of just chaff or units you don't care about, or they're ultra resilient, keep them out there and then just keep hammering me each turn with the shooting. There's not much I can do about it. Again, if I have a Lord of Change, me personally, I'd recommend trying to kill him first, because he's basically the only thing that can shoot back, unless I'm willing to, like, risk things by deep striking behind you, and I'm not even sure. Maybe, I guess, like, a bomb of, like, flamers, and they're not even that good. They just killed chaff when it comes to, like, the shooting or whatever. Yeah, I don't really have many options to deal with, like, your heavy firepower, like, ranged output, so do be aware that, again, yeah, we're melee army, man. That also means we're susceptible to, like, other infiltrators. If you can move block me, like, that really sucks. Now, I do have a lot of fly, but Great Unclean One, he's a perfect example. He only moves 7-inch. He's a big, fat, slow bastard. Like, yeah, dude, if you can move block him, keep him off a primary, that's really gonna hurt me as time goes on. Last up, I just want to go over, like, general tactics, both for you and some of the tactics that I'll use as, like, a demon player. So the first thing, this is really good to know if you're, if you're playing against me. I have pretty much no form of fallback and charge. I don't have any, like, stratagem for it. I'm sure it's hidden in some random profile, but none of the greater demons off the top of my head have fallback and charge. So very much we are, like, ultra susceptible to, if you have, like, a blob of 20 cultists or something, you can tie up pretty much any one of my greater demons, and I'm basically stuck there with you. I can't fall back and, like, charge something else. Now, do be careful. Don't do, like, single or, like, MSU squads. Even if you have, like, a 4-up invul or whatever, almost definitely I'm going to pick that squad up. So, like, be careful with them. But again, if you have blobs that, like, outnumber my number of attacks, or you just, like, don't think I'll get, like, all 16 hits or whatever, very much, dude, you can tie me up and kind of screw my game plan by, like, yeah, trying to force me to fall back and charge. Now, this is a tactic that I'll be using. Pretty much, I'm going to be, like, going into your backline. If you leave an opening, I'm going to jump into your backline. I'm going to kill all your shooting. I can't tell you the number of games where I go in there with again, Scarbrand. If you guys can't tell, I'm huge on that guy. And when we look at the tournament list, you'll probably notice a little theme going on. But, dude, I can't tell you the number of games I go back there and I wipe out 2 tanks. And then that's basically, like, a third of your ranged firepower, maybe even half of your, like, ranged firepower, and you lose the game right there. So again, I know I've mentioned it probably 5 times. Screen the shit out of everything, guys. Again, otherwise I'm just going to take advantage of it. So always be mindful of your back line especially. Obviously your front line, like, you can't really prevent me from charging there, especially if I don't go into reserves. Most demon players know not to, like, overdo it with the reserves, but we do have the Realm of Chaos, so anytime we want to, anytime an opening does open up, so maybe you think, like, ooh, it's turn 4, I'm safe by now. No, you really aren't. So again, be aware of that. I'm going to hit your back line if I'm able to. On top of that, or, like, related to that, the 3-inch deep strike. So again, especially your home field objective, you need to screen it really well. So these Fenrisian wolves, if there was an objective underneath of it, just pretend there's one there. That's actually a pretty decent way to do it. You basically make, like, you make, like, a loop around it, so I can't possibly, like, get my base inside of there. Again, I can't charge after using the 3-inch, so, like, yeah, basically it's impossible. Now, I can stop you from scoring primary if I'm able to wipe them out, so you might consider putting something more resilient there, something that, like, a Lord of Change wouldn't be able to wipe out, or especially, like, flamers, especially an MSU flamer. I should mention that, yeah, we have a lot of itty-bitty little squads, so it is like, almost impossible to completely screen us out, even with, like, your infiltrator abilities. It is pretty hard there, but just, again, be mindful of the 3-inch deep strike, both your home field, and it does also kind of apply to primaries, especially if it's, like, a close game and the game's getting late or whatever. There's a very high likelihood that I'm gonna, like, out of the blue, try to sneak it, try to, like, steal it from under your nose. Remember, too, that at least for No Man's Land, in order to get our Shadow of Chaos, we have to have 2 or more of the primary objectives held. So do all, try really hard to keep me from holding over half the objectives. You don't necessarily have to take them, but if you can just wipe me off of there, like, that's good enough, man. And you would think, too, well, the greater demons have the aura, so, like, why would I even bother? Well, again, they only affect their respective gods. I'm not always going to have Khorne models next to my Khorne greater demon, etc. So it is still, like, really valuable to keep me from getting the shadow easily. That's going to boost my, dude, you're giving me regen anytime I do a battle shock test. You let me use all my stratagems. My enhancements are always boosted if they're on a greater demon, but there's a million reasons why you don't want to let me do that. So that's actually really important. It's sort of a tug of war when you're fighting demons on if I'm going to keep my shadow in the No Man's Land or not. So yeah, definitely, like, try all you can to keep me from taking it. Maybe just stage some melee units behind, so if and when I take it, you get to punish me really badly. There's ways to deal with it, but again, just keep it in mind as the game's going along. On top of that, so not every list, you know, it depends on the player, but a lot of lists have pretty low model count. It's usually like a bunch of single model, like greater demons, and then just a few squads of like objective sitters, basically. So again, if you can wipe out my scoring, wipe out the units that are like easy to kill, the chaff units, you're gonna force me to use the big expensive guys, not only to like do actions, which is terrible because we can't shoot and we can't fight if we do that, but also just like stand on objectives. So I would love to like send Bellicor and fight your land raid or something like that, but I can't. I need my 5 freaking points. So again, I think it's like pretty valuable. I think it's a smart move to kill the weaker squads first, save the greater demons for last. That's just the way I would recommend it. All right, lastly, I want to go over some of the tournament lists. Now, I'm not going to go over them in detail, but I will post them in the description below in case you want to like take a look at them. I'll include the player names as well. Unfortunately, I don't have it memorized. I do apologize if one of your lists are here and I don't call your name. I do know David Edelman. I know one of these, I believe it's this one in the middle, was his list. He's a very good Chaos player, if you didn't already know. He went 6-0, I believe as a major. Now, the main thing I want to look at, though, is like commonalities between these lists. What are some like common features that you're going to see? First of all, Scarbrand. Scarbrand's in three out of 4 of these lists. I should mention too, by the way, okay, this is my own personal list. I would not at all call it a tournament list. This is just like the first one I put together like the day of the data slate, just for like to test out some stuff. It's not in the least bit like optimized, but I want to include some variety just so you can see it. But regardless, Scarbrand, ultra common. You know what is like 100% include though? Great Unclean One. Great Unclean One with the Endless Gift. You're going to see him in every list ever up until or unless he gets like heavily nerfed. And even if he does, I've heard people like complain about him. Even if and when he does get nerfed, he's still going to be just as resilient, guys. He's going to go up like 20 points or something. We're still going to bring him along. It's really not going to like change anything just if he gets like a point hike. So do beware. Great Unclean One, you're going to see him every single time. As a tip, ignore this guy. Well, move block him if you can, but don't freaking shoot at him. That's the best thing on the world. If you shoot at that guy, I am so happy, man. Even if you kill him, like internally, I'm like, idiot, you know? So be careful of him. Let's see, what else we got? Nurglings. Okay, so I should add, so I don't believe any of these are Pariah Nexus, so I should warn you on that. Nurglings will still be in most lists. Will we bring 3 squads of them? You know, time will tell. I don't know if 3 is going to be as common. You will see them in some lists. I know for me, personally, I would bring in like 2 in most squads, or most lists. Again, dude, 40 points for a cheap move blocker that you literally couldn't care less about. I think it's like, it's very much like worth it. Let's see, Bellicor. So this is an interesting one. Bellicor is only in 2 out of the 4 lists. Yeah, I know this one's mine, but still, Bellicor's not nearly as popular as he used to be. I would argue he's overpriced. And now he did get a 25-point drop. He went down to 325, which is very much needed. 350, way too much. 325, I still think he's overpriced. His main thing, and the reason you do see him, first of all, his Shadow of Chaos aura, his 6-inch aura, it affects any demon, so that is pretty useful. You get like a universal like help there. And he also, most importantly, he has a bubble. If a friendly demon's within 6 inches of him, he has an 18-inch lone op. You can't shoot any of those demons from outside of 18 inches, so that is pretty powerful, but there's ways to play around it. It only works like first turn, first of all. After first turn, like we're a melee army for the most part, unless we have like a game plan. We're doing like a bunch of shooting or something. So don't be afraid of Bellicor. And in fact, I would probably kill him last, unless you're like completely shooting and the opponent's like really smart. He's like kiting you or whatever. Okay, sure, try to kill Bellicor first. But otherwise, I don't really worry about him. He's like a paperweight. He has variable damage. He's really not like that powerful. I know some people disagree with me, and that is a-okay. And in fact, if you do, like, feel free to post a comment below. And I'm not just saying that for metrics, it's so other people get info or whatever. But you guys are more than welcome, like, share your opinions. Let's see, Blood Crushers are super ultra common. Blood Crushers are one of the more efficient models we got, or units we got. They're 110 points for 12 T7 4-up in-ball wounds with really good damage output. You throw a Rendmaster in there, which is also another like kind of common feature. You don't see in every list, but if they bring a lot of Corn demons like our 2 lists do, yes, you will almost definitely see a Rendmaster. What Rendmaster does, he does a lot. He gives you +1 strength, armor piercing, damage, and I'm forgetting one. +1 strength, AP damage. I want to say attack, but I don't think you get +1 attack. But either way, he like hyper duper ultra boost stuff. And guess what? You can run 3 of these guys if you want. You get your bloodletters up to AP 5. Yeah, AP 5, damage 5, strength 8 if you were to bring 3 Rendmasters. So definitely probably want to kill them first. We also have really good lone oppers, so you'll notice that in most lists. So Changeling here, and then Mask in these ones. What else we got? I think those are the main things I want to go over. I'm kind of surprised you don't see more Seekers in the other people's list, but I don't know. Maybe I'm playing them wrong. Who knows? Pink Horrors are fantastic. I'm not sure if I already mentioned Plague Bearers, but they're pretty much 100% auto-include in pretty much every single list ever. They're not that efficient to like kill or whatever, so it's kind of questionable if you like target them down or whatever. I guess if you have like a really good unit that can wipe them out in a single phase or whatever, sure, then you can go for it. But they are like ultra resilient. 110 points for 20 T5 wounds with their 5-up invul. They're not easy to kill at all. Either way, these are the tournament lists. Hopefully you guys get some ideas of like what opponents are going to be bringing. Again, these are from Leviathan, so there will be some changes. You'll probably start seeing Bloodthirsters more. That's something I would definitely like look up their profile on Wahapedia, memorize them, because that's probably something you're going to start seeing more. But anyways, I hope you guys got some good tips out of this video. Again, if you yourself have any tips for fighting demons, if I made a mistake, if I missed an important like detail or whatever, please share it. Not just for me, but for everybody else. This channel is all about spreading like good info so we learn the armies better. I kind of do want to do a series on like countering each and every army. Obviously, I'm starting off with like armies I know good. So Chaos Knights, of course I know them. Chaos Space Marines, potentially I'll do them. Hopefully it's not too heretical to like show you guys how to beat my own armies, but I think it's a fun little series. If you guys haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. If you could at least hit that thumbs up icon, especially if you watch the entire video, that would be much appreciated. Thank you again to all the channel supporters. Dude, thank you guys so much. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. Like, it's so awesome to see people, like, enjoying what I'm doing. If anybody else would care to support me that way, I will post some links down below, the Patreon, or you can become a member through YouTube as well. Either way, I hope you guys got some good advice. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, death to the false emperor.